It is quite ironic that in this day and age, the most serious, well-done sports commentary comes from YouTube channels with ridiculous and vulgar names like and. It's a testament to just how much mainstream sports networks like ESPN have fallen into mediocre editorial management that comes off as well-polished and well-funded cotton candy for hardcore followers of athletic competition. How did this happen? How did guys with crank call names Bart Simpson would use on Mo actually surpass the mainstream sports media networks in terms of substance? Watching sports have been a favorite pastime for humans for thousands of years. But it wasn't until the late 19th century that these events were written about from a journalistic perspective en masse. Before newspapers had sections dedicated to sports, it was extremely difficult to follow them aside from the game you watched in person. When people could follow a season of sporting events through the paper, it actually bled into the live sports you could watch in person. New media formats enabled even more people to follow sports than ever before, first through the radio and then through television. Television was the biggest breakthrough because you could see with your own eyes a live sporting event you might never be able to attend in person. However, for television and radio, they were dominated by media conglomerates who had a stranglehold on the eyes and ears of the public. Then, in the 90s, something happened that changed the world of media forever. If you're young enough, it's hard to fully grasp a world without a digital interactive space, but indeed that was the reality for most of human history. However, it's even more difficult for people of a certain age to understand how difficult the early internet was to use in the first place. The technology required to use the internet for anything was slow and loud. Even in the late 90s and early 2000s, the use of the internet for recreational purposes, such as digesting sports news, was an enticing prospect for many entrepreneurs and businessmen, which is why the dot-com bubble existed in the first place. However, the technology in the Y2K era just wasn't there yet, and most people did not see it as convenient enough for everyday use, which is why the bubble burst. However, as the 2000s progressed, computer and internet technology moved at a rapid clip. YouTube launched in 2005 as the first mainstream video streaming site at a time when internet speeds were still extremely slow and laggy. Then, Apple released the iPhone in 2007, which finally enabled the general public to use the internet in the most convenient manner it had ever been capable of being used in. Then, as internet speeds increased exponentially, the combination of handheld and easy-to-use internet devices and video streaming gave birth to a new era of media consumption. I spoke about technology so much because context is extremely important to understanding why modern independent sports commentators can exist at all and gain thousands, if not millions, of views, likes, and followers. It took over a century of technological media development through sound, picture, and digital connectivity to enable the next generation of sports commentary. The issue with ESPN, NBC Sports, CBS Sports, and so forth is that the digital asteroid didn't kill them outright. That's because of the money they are given from the massive media companies they are owned by and the brand recognition they gained from a bygone era that still resonates with millions of people. I was born in the 21st century and born into this digital age, and I can see the writing on the wall, and the message is clear. The reason why modern independent sports commentators gain so many followers is perceived authenticity. So much of classic sports broadcasting, aside from editorial pieces in newspapers, were highly polished and highly sanitized delivery of news. Human beings, however, are drawn to real people, people who wear their personalities and themselves on their sleeves. This doesn't just apply to sports, it applies to most things in life. Especially in the era of increased development into artificial intelligence, people seek out humanity more now than ever before. A guy like Tom Grossi would never have existed in the pre-internet world because he wouldn't have been seen as professional enough. But it's him being himself, talking about his love for the Packers and sports in general, that got him into official NFL promotional material. However, Mr. Grossi isn't exactly pressing the needle forward in terms of sports commentary. He's not taking risks, and that's fine. Some do, however, and these individuals are the ones who truly stand out. Over 2,000 years ago, there was an ancient Greek philosopher named Diogenes. When you think about a famous philosopher, you think of someone who projects themselves as refined and sophisticated. Diogenes was exactly the opposite. He had quite a rap sheet of overtly irreverent behavior. He wasn't afraid to challenge the institutions around him, and he did so by not taking them seriously in the way they wanted to be. Modern trolls can often do what they do for laughs and clicks, but satire sites like The Onion or the Babylon Bee use humor to shed light on serious issues in a refreshingly honest light. Barry is no different. It's less that he's ridiculous, but rather that the world around him is ridiculous, and treats both silly and serious subject matter the same. Oftentimes, serious criminal wrongdoings by both players and staff in sports are often brushed under the rug for no good reason. Sure, he might have assaulted, raped, or even murdered somebody, but he wins games, so it's no big deal. An individual like Barry uses humor to cut through corruption in sports that is often perpetuated because the only thing that matters is being a winner. The character of a man becomes almost irrelevant. It's akin to stories like The Great Gatsby and American Psycho that reflect American culture and attitudes. It doesn't matter what they do, but what they have. Sometimes, a simple mocking derogation from Barry is more than the entire sports media will ever push towards some of the worst individuals our species has to offer. Something else I appreciate about Barry is simply using stats as an analyst should. Numbers aren't everything in sports, but they are far more important than most casual observers will give credit. A player, like any professional, should be judged on their production, paired with acknowledging personal strengths and weaknesses. When someone is born with a physical advantage, but underperform in terms of their production, that should be put against them. U.S. gold medal winning coach Herb Brooks once said, "You don't have enough talent to win on talent alone." That's true of most athletes and competitors, and when you don't play up to your potential, it stings even more. Lazy and unproductive professionals should be called out, and this applies to everyone. We are all given a hand in life, but how we play our hand, that is what defines us. Sometimes the greatest athletes aren't the strongest or fastest, but those who utilize what they have the most. We all have something to learn from these types of individuals. I'm reminded of a point made by the critic Anton Ego in Pixar's Ratatouille, that not everyone can excel at a given craft, but that the excellent can come from anywhere, even the places we least expect. I think the internet and modern technology gives us all the tools we need to express ourselves and create. However, it is an unfortunate reality that most of us will not take advantage of the tools and resources afforded to us. Yet, those who do should be commended, even if they brand themselves with a stupid and goofy name. Thank you for watching this Sox Sports presentation. I'm the owner, Andrew, and I thank you for watching.